Since the primary, we're curious about what you have done to prepare for the job, to better familiarize yourself with county government or with the Home Rule Charter.
Well, I do have a copy of the Home Rule Charter. I've been going over that almost on a daily basis so that I have an understanding of it. I've also worked up a whole system of the departments that are, in the county, and the funds, where our funds are coming from that run the county employees, the budget. So I've done a lot of legwork, seeing how the county is run, what they've been doing up until this point.
Okay. Have you attended any of the meetings of the Home Rule Transition Committee?
Yes, I have attended meetings when at all possible, when it didn't conflict with something else.
Okay. And given that, do you have a sense of whether the Transition Committee is on pace with its responsibilities so that there's a smooth transition in December, January, or do you have specific concerns about where it is?
On the whole, I think they're doing well. I think they're a little concerned about picking a manager and the 6 management positions, but that I think should wait until the elected officials have a chance to look over all the applications and make their decision on their own, not just follow what the Transition Committee has put before them.
And I was going to ask another question about the committee, but I don't think that's relevant. I'm wondering, if elected, how much time you'd expect to dedicate to the council post?
I am retired at this time in my life, so I have all the time in the world that they need me. I will be there.
Okay. Do you think it would be appropriate, if elected as a council member, to have a daily presence in the courthouse, or would you have another preferred way that constituents could get a hold of you?
Actually, both. I feel that a presence in the courthouse, it's like having someone there keeping an eye on what's going on so that things aren't done improperly because no one's keeping an eye on it. And I'll be available to be contacted at any time.
Would you vote to approve the hiring of a relative to a county authority, board, or a commission?
Not really.
Could you be more specific? Nothing's kind of in the middle.
Okay. I'm not very big on nepotism. That's a problem that I have seen in the county for years. So I think they should look over the applications of anybody who's applying for the position. But you can't hire relatives, as I've seen in the past. It causes a lot of problems.
So you would not vote to hire a
No,
relative?
I would not.
Do you have an area of expertise that you would bring to the council? Numbers and budgeting, a legal background, a love of research, experience in negotiation, things
It would be the experience in negotiations, the contracts, because I was the chief steward for the union, 1398, and that negotiation with the budget and contracts.
About how many contract negotiations do you think you were involved in then as chief steward? There's a ballpark.
There's, gosh. Well, there's many Ask Me units. There's the professional, non-professional, court-related, and the residual. So I've worked on all those contracts as they came up during my time as chief steward.
Okay. And do you feel outside of that specific skill, do you have just an attribute, something about you, a characteristic that you think you'd be able to bring to council that would be very helpful?
Well, I'm a very fair and honest person. I'm able to look at all sides of a situation and be able to determine what has to be done. And as I said before, I am a problem solver. That's my expertise. I look at things and sit down and work out solutions. I'm a team player. I'm not a grandstander.
One of the most challenging tasks before this council probably will be adopting a working budget. Do you have specific suggestions for where you think money can be saved in the county now, or how revenues might be able to be increased somewhere?
Well, the first would be to look into the wasteful spending that has taken place over the past 15 years. I was working at the county when this was taking place, so I have a good idea of where the areas that need change.
Well, can you give us some examples?
Well, overabundance of management. I think there's one manager for every 3 workers. There's all the leased buildings that the county has. They lease a huge building and they only have 1 office in the building, so the rest of the building is empty. And then they'll lease out another building and maybe have 2 offices in that building. So, you know, the leasing.
Which buildings would they be?
Well, there's a number of them, but for example, over at the 44th Airport area where they had the transportation department is one of them.
And that's where they have a building but only 1 office in it?
Mm-hmm. Now, maybe at this point, right this minute, since I looked into it, there might be 2, but there is many buildings that are being leased.
And on the flip side of that question, the revenues, do you think there are any overlooked areas where revenues might be able to be produced?
Well, I've been looking into different areas of bringing in new revenue, but again, that would be my one idea against 10 other people, so I don't know how far it would go. But I think we should look into new revenues, maybe, like since this situation in West Pittston, maybe health inspector through the county. I looked into Allegheny County and Philadelphia County. They have a 1% sales tax. So there are different avenues to look into. Again, as I mentioned in the primaries, you're looking into grants to help keep the county functioning and being able to buy the equipment that is needed through grants, which would save the taxpayers money.
Do you have an estimate of what a 1% sales tax would bring in?
Well, based on the 6% tax, I'm saying probably close to $2 million.
Do you anticipate that merchants or small businesses would object to it or resist to it, particularly?
Well, yes, they may. That would have to be discussed with the small business owners. See what their feelings are on it, but it is a type of revenue that wouldn't put the weight on the shoulders of the taxpayers, the homeowners, which is one of the big problems we have, because we are basically a county that is mostly senior citizens. And as they said yesterday in our press release, that our senior citizens are having a difficult time making choices they shouldn't have to make. I feel that the people that are making these tough choices are our county members who work the hardest. They have the hardest jobs at the time because technology wasn't here, so everything was basically hand labor. So they should be given some type of a break.
Do you feel it's the county's responsibility to fund outside organizations, things such as public libraries?
Well, if the county were to get itself back on its feet and have the money to be able to contribute to these situations, I would think it would be a good idea. But right now, the way things are, we'd have to just wait and see where the budget goes, see if we can find new ways of bringing in revenue to the county.
Wanted to ask a couple questions about fringe benefits. What do you think is a reasonable fringe benefit package for county employees? Things such as number of sick and vacation days.
Most of your package of your sick time, vacation time, that's all done under contracts, union contracts. I think it would be a good idea if we could get all of the different unions in the county to agree on the same amount of time, because each contract gives different times to different employees. They are now paying a percentage of their health. As of 2001, they cut back on vacation time and sick time. So as new employees come in, they're getting less time off.
And given your experience, do you think there is that likelihood of convincing unions that there should be some uniformity? Or are they going to say we're different beasts, so to speak, and shouldn't all follow the same rule?
You have asked me covering basically the courthouse, but then there are the Teamsters that cover the prison, and working together is something that unions usually are able to do for the betterment of their members.
And the carryover of sick days from year to year, do you think that's an appropriate way to go?
If it's done properly and kept track of, carrying over sick days would be fine. But there are situations where people have very high amount of sick time accumulated, yet you know that they've been off at times, and I'm not sure if it's been tallied properly. So it would have to be watched carefully.
If elected to the council, would you bring a particular issue to it for consideration, something about which you're passionate or have been campaigning on, or do you think it's up to the manager to bring the issues to the board and then for the council, and the council votes on it? Just for example, some people have said the natural gas issue is important to them. Some people say some taxation issues are important to them. Is there anything that you would champion?
My area would basically be the fair and honest and open type of government. After watching what has occurred probably in the past 15 years, I just feel that someone should be there to keep an eye on what's going on, someone who understood what happened so that you won't allow it to happen again. See, as a county employee, I had to sit back and watch what was happening and not be able to change it. So when I retired and the opportunity opened to run for this position, I thought, well, it's time to stop complaining and try to do something about what you think and what you feel and what you believe in. So that's what I did. I believe that the county government can be run efficiently and it can be run fairly.
I'm just wondering what kind of oversight, how would you monitor honesty and fairness and those types of things? Is it talking to the employees?
Talking to the employees, see what's happening in each office. Keeping an eye on each office would be important to see what was going on, how the management was taking care of that office. Make sure that the employees are doing what they're supposed to be doing and that management is handling it properly.
Do you think in the past the county commissioners didn't do that? That they didn't keep an eye on each office?
They kept an eye on the political end of an office, but they didn't keep an eye on the actual working of the office, what that office actually was doing, where it could be improved upon.
Thank you.
I'm wondering how you get at that, though, because if you were an employee and all of a sudden a commissioner, or in this case a council member, starts asking you questions, I think there's an inherent concern or nervousness on the part of the worker that, why are they asking these questions? What does it mean to my employment here? Those types of things. Do you think there's a way to mitigate those kind of concerns?
Yes, I do. And see, most county employees know me, okay, except the ones that have been hired in the past 3 years. They know that I am fair and willing to work with them, and that I'm not the type of person that would condemn them or be condescending towards them. If they have an issue, I would like to hear about that issue and see what can be done about it. As in the training for Chief Steward, you learn to know the difference between a true complaint and someone who's just griping about something, a personal issue. So you learn to know the difference of which one it is.
If elected and you're serving on this council, would you be interested in being the chair of the group? And if not, what characteristics would you like to see in the person who serves as chair?
I'm not really interested in being the chair of the commission, of the councilman. I'm more of an Indian. I'm a worker. The person who the council members would vote for would have to be a person of integrity, someone who is fair, willing to look at all sides of a situation before they make a decision. Make sure that they investigate both sides before the decision is made.
There's always been a certain level of media interest in county operations. I think we're going to see that intensify at the start of next year because of this change in the council. I'm wondering, when that new group gets underway, what do you think is appropriate? What's the appropriate way for the council to communicate with not just the Times leader, but other news outlets? Should there be a designated council spokesperson, or do you think each council member?
From what I understand, that the chairman of the county council members would probably most likely, and should be, I think, the spokesperson for the committee. I think as a joint committee of 11 people, they should try working together instead of against each other, because nothing gets accomplished when everybody's going 7 ways to Sunday. They have to work together. And that, if they have disagreements about it, between each other, they should work those out before they come into a meeting.
Let me ask you this, if you're elected to council and things are going the way that you don't think they should be, would you still speak out? Would you speak to
Oh
the-
yes, most definitely. Most definitely.
What do you,
I feel that if I am elected and I am on that board and I see things that aren't going properly, you would definitely hear from me.
what are you doing in the next few weeks to get to further your campaign, to get your name out there, to get your message out there?
Attending all the different rallies, and there'll be the League of Women coming up, and the neighborhood Wilkes-Barre residents coming up. In fact, I have somewhere to go tonight, tomorrow, Thursday. Friday. You're constantly on the move.
How much do you expect that you'll spend on this campaign through the whole thing?
The donations that have been coming in, because I'm still working with, working families.
Mhm.
Right now, it's less than it was in the primaries because the donations haven't been coming in. In fact, I think in the primaries we received donations after the election was already over, so it's not always done on a timely basis. So whatever we have is what we will use.
What do you
But,
anticipate that might be? Do you have a ballpark idea?
I would say somewhere probably between 20 and 30,000,
Being split between the...
be between the four.
Okay. Will we see radio, television, signage, or how is that money going to be?
I think the Democratic Committee is doing some television and radio, but Working Families will be doing telephone calls.
Is the group, it's 4 members, are you reaching out to some of the other candidates too that
Oh,
might be
yes.
like-minded and saying, would you like to be?
Well, I've been attending, the Democratic Committee's meetings, and I've been to, Tim McGinley's and Michelle and Eileen. They're all very nice people. I think that we also do a good job on council. I think the candidates are well-rounded, and if we have a selection of 11, we should have a good variety of people and their ideas.
Were you comfortable with the primary and the way that the campaigns were conducted? Did you see or sense that anything was not above board?
No, I felt everything was done properly. I think the only issue I think they had was what some people had cards out that didn't have on the base of being paid by or approved by. But I think that was the only issue that they had during the campaign.
Okay. Any questions from the group at this point? Anyone? I guess my last question, are you satisfied with this endorsement interview, that you've gotten the appropriate questions and had a chance to make your points?
On the whole, yes, I would say so. Yeah, I've given my opinion as far as I can at this point.
Anything that we didn't ask about that you want to mention? Anything you want to emphasize that we did talk about?
No, not really.
And just, you're sort of suggesting that there are things you'd like to say, but it's inappropriate at this point?
I think at this point, if until I am, if I am elected or when I am elected, then I would be able to say more, because you have to be careful that you don't offend people, and that's the last thing I want to do.